Scene script. Have you ever wondered about the story of Elijah, the man who defied kings and even death itself in the Old Testament? In the vast narrative of the Old Testament, a character emerges from the shadows. His name is Elijah. Elijah, whose name means "My God is Yahweh," holds a unique place in biblical history. He stands as a beacon of resistance, a figure of intrigue and mystique. His life is a testament to the power of faith and the enduring spirit of man. As a prophet, Elijah's role was no small feat. He was tasked with calling the people of Israel back to the worship of Yahweh, steering them away from the pagan deity, Baal. He stood firm against the tide of popular opinion, defying the powerful King Ahab and his notorious queen Jezebel. Elijah's story is a whirlwind of miracles, confrontations, and divine revelations, his life a narrative of faith, courage, and divine intervention. So who was this Elijah, and why does his story matter? Our journey with Elijah begins in the wilderness, where he first emerges as a prophet. In the heart of the wilderness, far from the distractions of worldly life, Elijah found his calling. He was to be a voice in the silence, a beacon in the spiritual desert of his time. It was here in the wilderness that Elijah first prophesied a long drought, a divine judgment on the idolatrous kingdom of Israel. This wasn't a prediction pulled from thin air, but a message from God himself, a warning to the people to turn from their ways. While the rest of the land suffered under the harsh sun, Elijah found refuge in the wilderness. It was here that he experienced the first of many miracles that would mark his journey. God, in his infinite wisdom and mercy, sent ravens to feed Elijah. Imagine that in a time of such scarcity, when even the brooks were drying up, Elijah was sustained by these unlikely messengers. Every morning and evening they brought him bread and meat, a testament to God's providence even in the bleakest of times. These ravens were more than just providers of sustenance, they were symbols. In a time when the people of Israel had turned their backs on God, these birds, often considered unclean, were the ones obeying his commands. It was a stark reminder that God's ways are not our ways, his thoughts not our thoughts. Elijah's time in the wilderness was more than just survival. It was a time of formation, of deepening his faith and understanding of God's ways. It was a time of learning to trust in God's provision, even when all visible signs pointed to despair. And so, amidst the solitude of the wilderness, Elijah emerged not just as a prophet, but as a man of unwavering faith, a man who dared to speak God's truth in a time of widespread falsehood. Elijah's time in the wilderness was the beginning of his extraordinary journey, a journey that would see him challenge the prophets of Baal, defy a king, and ultimately be taken up to heaven in a whirlwind. But that's a story for another time. For now, let's linger in the wilderness a while longer, contemplating the lessons it has to teach us. Now, let's move to the climax of Elijah's story, the showdown at Mount Carmel. In the heart of ancient Israel, a mountaintop served as the stage for one of the most dramatic confrontations in biblical history. Mount Carmel, a place of beauty and tranquility, was about to witness a face-off that would forever change its narrative. Elijah, God's prophet, stood alone against 450 prophets of Baal, a Canaanite deity. His mission? To prove once and for all the supremacy of the God of Israel. The stakes were high, the audience, an entire nation caught in the throes of religious tension. The challenge was simple yet profound. Each side would prepare a bull for sacrifice, but they would not set it aflame. The God who answered by fire, consuming the offering, would be acknowledged as the true God. The prophets of Baal went first, calling upon their God, dancing and even cutting themselves in a frenzy, but to no avail. No fire came. Then came Elijah's turn. He rebuilt the altar of the Lord that was broken down, arranged the wood, cut the bull in pieces and laid it on the wood. He even soaked the offering and the wood with water, not once, not twice, but 3 times, until water ran around the altar and filled the trench. Elijah then prayed to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel. His prayer was simple: let it be known that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant. And then the unimaginable happened. Fire fell from heaven, consuming the offering, the wood, the stones, the dust, and even the water in the trench. The people who saw this fell on their faces and acknowledged the Lord. He is God. The prophets of Baal were subsequently seized and executed, marking a turning point in Israel's religious history. After Mount Carmel, Elijah's name was forever etched in the annals of divine intervention. Elijah was not destined to die a mortal's death. Quite the contrary, his departure from this earthly realm was as unique and awe-inspiring as his life had been. Elijah's ascension to heaven, as described in the Old Testament, is a tale that has fascinated believers for centuries. In the second book of Kings, chapter 2, we find the captivating account of Elijah's departure. The narrative begins with Elijah and Elisha, his disciple, journeying together. Elijah, aware of his impending departure, urges Elisha to stay behind. But Elisha, loyal and steadfast, refuses to leave his master's side. As they walk on, they reach the Jordan River. Here, Elijah rolls up his mantle and strikes the water, parting the river just as Moses had once parted the Red Sea. Together, they cross the river on dry ground, a testament to Elijah's divine power. Then, in a spectacle that defies human understanding, a chariot of fire drawn by horses of fire appears, separating Elijah from Elisha. In the midst of a whirlwind, Elijah is swept up and ascends to heaven. This extraordinary event leaves Elisha awestruck, staring at the sky where his master had disappeared. Now, what sets this event apart in the Old Testament is its sheer uniqueness. Elijah's ascension is one of the only two instances in the Bible where a person is reported to have been taken to heaven without experiencing death, the other being Enoch. Such an extraordinary exit from the world underscores Elijah's special status among the prophets. Moreover, this event is significant because it marks the transition of prophetic authority from Elijah to Elisha. When Elijah ascends, his mantle, the symbol of his prophetic power, falls to Elisha. This act signifies the passing of the baton, the continuation of prophetic work in the hands of Elisha. Elijah's departure was as extraordinary as his life had been, setting him apart from other prophets. His ascension to heaven in a whirlwind was not just a grand exit, but also a vivid affirmation of his divine mission and his unique place in biblical history. Elijah's story does not end with his ascension. His legacy, filled with powerful lessons and symbols, continues to resonate, extending far beyond the final chapters of the Old Testament. The echoes of Elijah's life and his mission are heard throughout the Bible, punctuating key moments in the New Testament and even into prophecies about the end times. Elijah, the man who stood unflinching in the face of kings, who called down fire from heaven and who was taken up in a whirlwind, resurfaces in the New Testament. Here he appears in a vision during the transfiguration of Jesus, standing alongside Moses, representing the prophetic tradition of Israel. It is a testament to the enduring significance of Elijah, a symbol of the continuity of God's work from the Old Testament to the New. But the legacy of Elijah does not stop there. His name reappears in the prophecy of Malachi, which speaks of his return before the great and terrible day of the Lord. This prophesied return of Elijah symbolizes restoration, a turning of hearts, a mending of relationships, and a call to remember the laws of God. It's a reminder that God's work is not yet done, and that the spirit of Elijah, the spirit of unwavering faith and bold prophecy, is to continue. Elijah's legacy is not confined to the pages of a book. It's alive in the hearts of those who, like him, stand steadfast in their faith, who speak truth to power, and who remember the commands of God. His life serves as a beacon, guiding us through the trials and tribulations of our own spiritual journeys. Elijah, the tireless prophet of the Old Testament, continues to inspire and fascinate us with his enduring legacy. His story, woven into the fabric of faith, remains a testament to the power of unwavering belief, the strength of divine calling, and the transformative potential of a life dedicated to God. Elijah's journey through the Old Testament is a testament to his faith and courage. As we look back, we see a prophet who was unafraid to stand alone, a man who dared to confront the prophets of Baal in the name of the one true God. His life was a series of divine encounters and miracles, culminating in an ascension that defied the boundaries of human understanding. Elijah's story is not just a tale of biblical proportions, but also a reflection of his enduring legacy. This was a man who lived his faith, who walked the path of righteousness even when it led him into the wilderness. His influence reached beyond his own time, shaping the lives of future prophets and inspiring countless generations. Through his story, Elijah continues to challenge us to stand firm in our faith no matter the odds.